For the last 8 years, Front Row Dads has been evolving because men like you choose to join together, to share wisdom, to hold each other to the highest standards, and collectively reject the notion that we must choose between success at work and presence at home. And when FRD started gaining momentum, now with hundreds of members throughout the US, our guys started asking, when are you gonna launch Front Row Moms? Well, today I'm joined by Angie Macdougall and Megan Corey, the founders of Front Row Moms, a movement created for women who are raising families, growing businesses, and committed to becoming the best version of themselves. They are a community supporting ambitious women to redefine having it all by fostering meaningful connections, creating limitless impact, and empowering them to prioritize health, family, and personal fulfillment. If there is a woman in your life who is looking for deeper connection, honest conversations, and a community of like-minded moms, this is for her. Let's get into the show. So, why the three of us are talking and why we're, collaborating in studio, one of the big reasons for this is Front Row Moms.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. I'm excited.
Okay. Yes.
This is our first official conversation on the record, right?
Yeah.
We're going to share about the evolution of Front Row Moms, which is super cool. So where to begin on this one? I think, let me say this to begin. The goal that I have in this conversation and pivoting to Front Row Moms is that I want to tell the story of how we got here. I think that's cool. But most importantly, I think that I want to have a conversation that would allow men who are listening to this to determine if there is a female in their life that needs the Front Row Moms community. And so who is that person? Who's a good fit for Front Row Moms? And what is the deliverable of Front Row Moms? What is the problem that it's solving? What is the vision and the mission of Front Row Moms? So that's really where I want to take this conversation. And there's a lot of ways that we can get to those outcomes. But maybe what we'll do is let's start with your individual mom journey. And maybe what you could do is you could tell us a little bit about, almost from a hero's journey perspective, right? Like, where were you? What problem presented itself? When did a shift need to change? When did you realize that you wanted and needed community? When did you sort of find the alignment of Front Row Moms, which can bring us then into our current collaboration and the growth of the Front Row Moms community? So let's just start with the story that got us to the day, and then people will know your hearts, and then we can talk a little bit about like the actual ins and outs of what it means to be a Front Row Mom in the community. How does that sound?
Perfect. Great.
Megan, why don't we start with you? Yeah.
Awesome.
So tell us your journey in whatever way you want, and take as long as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do. So I think it started, back graduated college, really saw myself as this high-powered executive. So I'm like, all right, this is where I want to go. I want to be a businesswoman. I see myself making a lot of money. I want to just rule the world. That was my ultimate goal. And
You said rule the world?
Yeah, just rule the world. I wanted
Easy.
to do everything. My whole family is teachers. I was the only one that wasn't. And I said I wanted to do something different. I want to go in business. I want to be able to travel. I want to do all the things. I didn't want to have to worry about money, too. That was a big thing that always came up in my family. So working my way up the ranks and, into these leadership positions, leading teams. I'm in heels and suits. I'm like, I'm killing this. I'm doing all the things. And then I had my first kid. And so, putting them in daycare and then going through the whole, I got to take off of work. They're sick. Okay, I got to take off of work. They're sick. I can't miss this meeting. Then I had my second kid. And once I had my second kid, or I might have been pregnant with my second one, I remember being at this event at work, and this guy gave me a hug. He's like, oh, congrats. And the second one, that's so exciting. So are you going to take off then? Are you going to stop working? I was like, would you have asked a guy that if he was did you ask my husband that? Is he going to stop working? So in my mind, I was like, is that just what happens? People are like, oh, you just stop working once you add on these kids. So as I'm going along and continuing dropping kids off at daycare, going into work, and I'm just sitting around these conference tables, again, in a male-dominated environment, and set up for these leadership positions, setting up into a senior executive position. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't think this is what I want. Like, I'm dropping my kids off. I feel like they're barely on the brink of a fever. Oh, okay, I think I can send them today because I got to get to these meetings. And I was having this huge struggle of, what do I do? If this isn't what I want and I don't want to be this, but I also don't feel like I'm present every time I come home. And just, you're trying to do it all. And you're trying to like, oh, I can do this all. This looks great. But then you're really just barely getting by, right? Getting up at 4:30 to work out, getting the kids to daycare, working all day, coming home, making dinner, barely like trying to do everything for the next day, getting set up. And so I realized that wasn't where my passion was lying, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. So really took into the personal development side. So just listening to podcasts, listening to books. I'm like, what do I want to be when I grow up? What can I do outside of this that can allow me the flexibility to be a good mom, to be a present wife as well? But also I want to work. I want to do something that lights me up. So I did all that diving, figured it out, and started my own company. Just started a consulting company where I could have the flexibility. So now I had location independence, time independence. And as we were, going through during COVID and everything was now virtual, so it was nice that I didn't have to be driving anywhere. So I had that time to do more training, continue to dive into things. And as I was doing the exchange training, we were on an event, and that's how I met Angie. And so this is how we first connected into, Angie's like, I'm going to start up, Front Row Moms. I really need some help. And this is what I'm looking to do. And I'm like, wow, that is something I don't have and I need. I had been in different mastermind groups before with women or with just different groups in general. It was all career focused, which wasn't a bad thing. But there was a lot of women that either weren't married or they were young or they were older. They might not have had kids. They weren't going through the same struggles that I was. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to find something that was similar to what I was going through, but also have that community support. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where, we kind of connected and said, this is something we need to do. It's needed. We want to do it. And it's something that we can share with others.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to connect a dot here, a dot or two, is that this morning, you might know this, I had breakfast with John.
Berghoff.
John Berghoff, who is the founder of Exchange, and just a shout out to that community.
Yes.
John Berghoff is many people will know this if they've listened to the show for a while, but we have a lot of new listeners, is that John led the first ever Front Row Dads retreat in 2016. And now he trains facilitators, mm-hmm. People who lead groups who want to understand how to design events or experiences where conversation becomes a rich resource for solving big problems and creating, compelling futures. Mm-hmm. He should use that in a...
Yeah, I like
that
copy.
That's exactly.
Yes.
Like, that's great.
You're welcome, John.
Yeah.
Copy and paste that.
There you go.
Right, there you go. But I watched John do a brilliant job yesterday facilitating John Ruland's book launch and celebration of his life and all of that. And just a guy who shows up constantly. So I want to give him some love and also love that that's how... it feels so divine.
Yes.
That's how this all
Yes.
It is crazy. That's how we met.
So
yes.
cool.
Yeah.
It's perfect and makes tons of sense.
Yes.
So I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And so if you had to zoom out for a minute and mm-hmm. talk, kind of broad stroke, what would you say is the problem that you faced that you want to help other women overcome, and what's on the other side of that? So I know you spoke to that a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just asking again, if you can just articulate the problem and the vision of the future. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So I believe the problem is women are put into this position that we still are a lot of times that main caretaker, if you will, of the kids. So your mind, no matter how hard you try, is always on, how do I take care of the kids? Mm-hmm. How do I make sure the family calendar is set? How do I take care of everybody within the household? Oh, but then, you're running a business. You're like, oh, I got to stay healthy because I got to be able to keep up with all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I also want to grow myself and I want to be independent. And how do I do that? And so I think the big struggle is having this picture perfect, like, oh, we got to have it all. Women can run the world, right? And we can, but what does that look like? And so I think that looking at that, finding a spot for women to say, "Ah, okay, there's people out there like me that can support me, whether it's in, small groups, whether it's in just, being there as a listening ear, being able to provide feedback because they've lived the experience, I think is something that's really special. And so I think coming to the point of, all right, we should do all of this. And I think as front row moms, we came to the conclusion that like we're redefining what having it all means. So it's not me and Angie always talk about these pictures of us like bouncing like all the plates in the air and then all of them dropping and us like in our, the kids are all around us and we're falling on the ground, but we're in our suit and we're like, we're doing great. I'm like, are we? We always feel like we don't want to feel like a failure. So looking at it from that aspect of like, okay, taking to the count of we are doing all these things. And now we have a space, and this is our vision of Front Row Moms. We have a space for these ambitious women who really value career, family, health, and personal development. And they have a community of like-hearted women that they can do it with. And so our goal in that vision is to connect these women, to connect these spaces, to give the space and curate the space, whether it's in events, in person, virtually, whether it's in our small groups and our pods, and we can get into that later, what those are, but really focusing on those visions. And similar to Front Row Dads, we have our pillars. So they're set up where it's, you want that thriving relationship, purposeful parenting, vibrant health. You want your financial empowerment and that independence, focus on your emotional intelligence and your business evolution. So taking that all together and saying, oh, wow, these are all things I really want to work on as I grow older and my values start changing and my priorities start changing, we're there to shift it with you. So that's kind of our vision of what that looks like. And we're creating that space because it was something we couldn't find. It wasn't out there.
Yeah. How do you know when you're killing it as a mom?
That's very interesting. I don't know if, some days I really do feel like I am. I'm like, I'm killing it. And then the next day I feel like I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I felt like all the balls dropped.
Yeah.
I feel like as killing it is, you know what? I had time I feel accomplished today with my work day. I was able to go and pick the kids up from school and I got to have, time with them, on the way home from the school drop. I was able to make dinner and sit down with the family for dinner tonight. I was able to go on a hike with my friends on the weekend and catch up. That to me is killing it as a mom.
Yeah.
I was able to fulfill my career, like my ambitions as working and accomplishments, finding that time for family, because I feel like if that's lacking, it doesn't matter how good your career is, you feel it. And then that friend time. We all need that community time. So I feel like that's so special when I don't have that. I feel it. I notice that I don't have it. So I think being able to manage all that and say, okay, it might not be all in the same day. It might not be in the same week, but did I make it work over the course of several weeks or a month? And
that's cool.
Do I feel good?
I almost feel there's a texture of like having it all. And when you think about having it all, it doesn't necessarily always feel good because you can have a lot of pressure. You can have a lot of anxiety. You could have a lot of everything, right?
Yeah.
It's just sometimes maybe that's heavy. But what I hear in the lightness of what you just shared was some version of like being present to it all.
Yes.
Being in flow with it all. Being right? Whatever insert word that resonates with you, but there was a smile and an ease and a joy and a lightness of like, yes, it's a lot. Yes, there are many things happening. Yes, I am from work to school to dinner to whatever, but in those moments, there is a level of acceptance or intentionality that there's some flavor to that feels really good.
Absolutely.
Because that's like the simplicity in the complexity of it all, right? There's a lot happening, but in those moments, I'm like very dialed into the simple pleasures and joys and experiences of all of it. Even to maybe the hardship, but that type of hardship where you're like with somebody in their hardship and you're present and you can feel their pain, but you're not totally wrapped up in the hurricane of it, like lost and completely dysregulated, out of control. You're like in control with your sadness, in control with your whatever emotion is present for you in that moment.
Absolutely. And feeling grateful for just those little moments really puts something in perspective for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angie, what about your journey to Front Row Moms? Where were the pain points? Where was the desire? How did we get here?
Hey guys, I want to share something brand new designed for high-performing men like you who want to win at home, not just at work. Our team developed this program over the past 8 years by collecting the best ideas, strategies, and habits from hundreds of men. It's all in one place to give you the best results in the shortest amount of time, because if you're a married man with kids and a business, there is no time to waste. This experience creates deep transformation, not just taking notes and talking about change. It's about doing what matters now so you don't miss the moments when your kids need you the most. These opportunities will come and go very quickly. It's also about building a marriage that shows your kids what real love looks like, creating an environment where they and you thrive. Look, marriage is tough. I've personally walked the line of divorce several times, and without the tools I've gained from this community, I might not be married today. And it's not just about being a great dad or a husband. It's about fulfilling your personal mission, thriving as a man, making an impact through your work, gaining time freedom, financial freedom, traveling the world, and giving to the causes you care about. This program is designed to keep you mentally, physically, and spiritually strong. You do not need to do this alone. Our badass community of intentional fathers are going to help you raise the bar. You're going to learn from each other, hold each other accountable, find your blind spots, and achieve success most dads will never see. It's time to dig deep, gain clarity, and create real change starting now. If you're ready to evolve, visit frontrowdads.com today. We've got limited spots available for this brand new program.
I think if I can think back to like, when did this, you know how they sometimes say the universe is either whispering or knocking or yelling, or there's things, right? And I think for me, if I go back, the first time was being at a personal development seminar where we did an exercise. This is pre-kids, like year 2000, I think. And the exercise was write all your fears. And we're gonna write the fears up, and then we're gonna rip them up. We're gonna put them in a metal bowl, and we're gonna light them on fire, and we're gonna do this exercise. And I remember writing down my fear, and my fear was that I'm going to have to quit my job to have kids. There was nobody in the in my company that showed how that works as a woman. And I remember writing it down, and then I remember saying to myself, I actually don't know if I want to even do the work, because I think the answer is going to say I have to quit. So I don't even actually want to entertain going down the path. And I remember doing the exercise, and I was like, I ripped it up. And I was very sad. I remember feeling sad that I was like, because kids was more important to me, but I really wanted both. I was like at a level of my career where I was like, oh man, I'm starting to figure this thing out. I'm getting to the next level. This is great. And this is all good. And then I was like, but I'm getting older, and me being who I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to have kids here, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen. And so then when I finally made a decision and said, I'm going to give this a shot, I was fortunate that there was men that, leaders above me that said, we don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to help you in any way we can. And I remember being like, okay, all right, so this one I'm going to get pregnant. And then, that did not happen when I wanted to. And then there was a miscarriage, and then there was another miscarriage. And then there was, there's these things. And so my first feeling was like there was no one there. And then I remember having a kid, and I remember going to a conference. There was one other woman that was at the same level of leadership as me, and I was going to be her roommate. And I was so excited because I knew she was married, and she was talking about kids. And I was like, oh, this is great. We're going to room together. We're going to figure out how to do this. And I checked in at the room. It was in Miami. And I'm like, great. And they're like, yeah, you're solo. I'm like, what do you mean? Where's my roommate? And then I asked someone, they go, yeah, she quit. I go, why? To have kids. I was like, great. So that was like a moment me like, seriously, another one? Now, all the power to that choice.
Sure.
All for somebody to do that. But I was like, oh, darn it. Now I'm like, again, solo. So then I remember feeling that. But great men in the industry didn't get it, but supported me. I had 2 kids. I think I actually developed more people. Being able to do that. I think that it gave people responsibility. It forced me to be better. I thought I was good at time management until I had kids, and realized that wasn't a thing. So then if I fast forward, the next thing is then I was getting to a level where I was like, I really want to be around more women that want to do life like me. Because I found sometimes women would say to me, oh, like, you got a lot going on. Like, you're really busy. Like, you should, like, just these like little jabs. And I was like, starting to question. And I'm like, no. I don't question my life, my goals and my dreams and what I want. So I need to get around other women. And I remember finding this group. And I went to the first mastermind, and I was so excited because there were so many women there that were really kicking ass in life. And then it was almost like every other woman was divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for at that time to have conversation with women that could tell me and share with me, how do you stay married?
Mm-hmm.
And like we were just talking about, that's what I was actually really looking for. And, but I wasn't fine. There were some women that were questioning, but there was a lot more that had shared with me this challenge that I had brought up earlier and that they were divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember being at a Best Year Ever Blueprint event of Hal's, and I remember sitting in the chair, and I remember to this moment, Berghoff asked this question, if you don't pursue it, what will the world be like if you don't do it?
Mm.
And that question, and I'm going to say this, and it sounds so like, I don't even know how it's going to sound, but I was like, I think there'll be less divorce if I can get a community of women that really want to be married, but they want these things and they want to be great moms, but they want a tribe that they can celebrate with each other, not compete, and they can share their big wins and they'll be applauded for that, but they can also share the moments that are really hard, and another woman will look at them and go, I get it.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
And they can share, hey, I did this, you did that. And I was like, I wrote that down. I was like, that was a nudge.
Yeah.
And then, then I kind of we started to do some just, virtual sessions through a Facebook group. And through that, I started seeing more women. And I was always getting asked as I continued to develop at my work, other women would come to me and go, how do you do this? Like, is it possible to have kids and work?
Mm-hmm.
And more people kept asking me that. And then a colleague of mine was like, you need to do that thing. You need to build the community. And I didn't know at the stage where I was at, do I have the energy to do it?
Mm.
Do I want to do it? Do I just want to join someone else's? But then I was like, the common thread is that we're moms and I want to form this community. And I remember getting to a space where also I had a lot of things going on, but my daughter was about to graduate. And I remember being like, I need to pause life.
Mm.
I need to be here for the moments. Because when you said, how do you know when you're winning as a mom? And I remember being like, I just need to be available.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of paused some personal things as a stage in my life. And then the last kind of kicker of like, I really need to pursue this was I started not knowing who I was internally. I was struggling with brain fog, which I never knew what that was. I was having heart palpitations. I was having joint pain. I was having all these really strange health things that didn't add up. They didn't match my life, all these things.
Right.
And I remember saying to Megan, I was like, Megan, I got to halt this whole thing. I was like, I need to just pause my life.
Mm.
I lost a patch of hair. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I started reading and I was starting to hear that it was part of perimenopause and menopause. But I said to Megan, Megan, I need to pause this. And she said, okay, whatever you need to do. And what if this is the reason we need the community?
Mm.
What if this is why? Because you can't be the only woman.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 10 years older than Megan. And I just remember her saying that to me and I was like, oh, you're right. I can't be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then the more we kept digging into it, the more that I was like, oh my gosh. And the more I started talking about it, the more women were like, I feel that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's been this, and it's been such a, I don't know, a connection to women that are like now in this other stage of life. And I feel fortunate that there's been women ahead of me that have shared things with me that I know has helped me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know it has. And so I really wanted, I didn't want to do it alone either.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested at this stage of my life. I don't want to do it by myself. So us connecting together was such a gift. And I was like, oh, this is so great. And it was so important to me that I was like, how do we create this space where women can learn with, from, and teach to each other?
Yeah.
We have a lot of wisdom in us, but we don't often create the space to have the right conversation to unlock that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a gift of exchange that's helped us to do that.
Yeah.
I've seen that come out. And I know that if women or people are in the right space with the right questioning and they feel good, they have the answers.
Yeah.
They just have to give the opportunity.
That's right.
And I feel like we've seen it, at the first retreat. But I'm so passionate about getting women in a room and having them also know that, like, I get you. And I've been in other groups, and the value of being seen by another woman is really powerful, especially as you keep advancing in your job. I just think in a career, especially if you own your own business, you kind of are put in the position where you have to know the answers.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of spots for you to go up to anymore. So to have other women that you can be real with is really helpful, because you almost feel like there's no space to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But we know vulnerability is connection.
Yeah.
You know that. But you can't do it in all the spots. But when you can do it in this arena that they get you,
I could see how that would be true, where there are some things that you're not going to go to your kids for. You're not going to go to your spouse for.
Yep.
You're not going to go to your coworkers for.
Right.
But this community of women with these shared challenges, these shared visions that really get you.
Yeah.
And when you said it, and I believe this is the core of every human experience, is to be seen, fully seen. I think child to parent, even, parent to child. I think I want to be seen by my kids for who I am. I want to be seen by my wife. And nothing feels better than when somebody's like, I totally get you, and maybe even you wonder, do they get me even more than I get myself? Can they see something that I don't see in me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that leads me to the last kind of thing I think that makes us different than just being with my friends, which ultimately I do believe this community will create friendships for life, but they're different friends. And I say that because your friends aren't always going to say the things you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I think we need people in our life that we value that can reflect back to us something and say, maybe we need a little bit of accountability somewhere.
Yeah, there is a difference to that for sure, of just somebody that is your neighbor and you take a walk with, and you just love this
and
human, and you're
too.
kind of crossing paths with. You need that.
Yeah.
You also need the community where when you show up in that space, the expectation or the agreement amongst the group is like, we're here to do work. That work is through connection. That group is that connection is through this relationship, but like, we're here to dig.
Yes.
We're
here to get real fast.
We're here to get real fast.
Yeah.
Where sometimes on a Sunday, if I pass a friend or whatever, it's like, I might actually hesitate in bringing it up because I'm like, it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to hold this on a Sunday morning. But if I'm at a Front Row Moms event, if I'm at a Front Row Dads event, if I'm there and somebody goes, the purpose of this gathering is to go deep, then the minute I bring somebody, I got a challenge. They're like, let me hear it.
Yes.
Like, we're here for the same reason. So there's nothing you're going to say that's going to be too much for me.
Yes.
And in fact, the more you say, the better. I want you to open up and like, let me have it all. Right?
Yeah.
It's
And
like, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I have found, especially when we put women together in small groups, there's an exercise we can do where one of the women can share a challenge or a situation, and all of the other three, they just pour into her.
Yeah.
That is rare.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is rare.
That is, as a mom, as someone's got a lot going on, there's not a lot of like, eyes on me.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
Because you're just so focused on trying to help all the other things. It's a gift. And to me, I experienced it, and me watching other women go, this is, and it's actually unfamiliar, and it's a little awkward for some women.
Yeah.
They're not used to, it's uncomfortable.
That's right.
They're not used to.
Well, to be held, and I'm speaking energetically, maybe physically, but energetically for the most part, of being held by a human that's like, I can hold you.
Yeah.
I can hold this. I can
hold this space.
I can hold this space for you. I realized maybe a couple years ago at a very deep level that I thought I was bringing men together in Front Row Dads to have a conversation so that they could go connect with their kids. And I thought that it was about, connecting with their spouse or reconnecting to their business and igniting something there for their families. And what emerged for me was that the work was in men being held by other men, sometimes physically held, right? And sometimes just in the metaphorical sense, held by this other man. And that what he was then learning through that safety of a man holding another man, right, in his pain, in his sorrow, in his grief, where he's not trying to take his kingdom, take his wife, compete for his business, but just like the healing of the masculine. And sometimes that's like a fatherly healing to a person. And sometimes it's a man holding a man so he can heal his relationship to himself as a boy. boy, right? And I used to say we thought we were doing men's work, but really we're doing boys' work, because a lot of our greatest pains and struggles and the things we're still pushing to like win in business so we can finally be enough and win the approval of others, like a lot of that are our childhood wounds.
Yeah.
And so all of this to say that it is sounds like a very intentional space that you wanted to create for women to have these experiences of deep connection, deep healing, being seen, being witnessed, being supported. And I think that the shared values that you've both spoken beautifully to, shared problems, shared visions are what bring us together as communities, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, is the community better than every other community? Who cares? Who knows? It's just like, but this is our community.
Right.
And so if somebody hears about it and they're like, yes, that feels so good to me, that resonates, then that's where we magnetically pull people in. And over time, Front Row Dads went from 30 people in 2016 to now, 300 people plus in 2025. And it's just growing organically every year because people just eventually find their community.
Right.
And whether it's ours or somebody else's or whatever it is, like just find your community is kind of the message.
Yes.
Wherever you find it. And careful not to look too long, because sometimes people will be like, not the right community, not the perfect community, not the perfect community. And you're like, at some point, you might be the problem. Like, you might need to just join a community and
Start
just
somewhere.
like lean in. Yeah,
I was just going to say, maybe you need to invest into that community.
Yeah. So sometimes, you're community hopping, like people do in relationships. Where they're like, not the right person, not the right person, not the right person. And sometimes you just need to sign up, and lean in. I refrain. I'm gonna stop there because it sounds too prescriptive. Like I know what's right for people, but who knows? I'm just speaking about myself and my own vision.
Well, just on this Front Row Dads, I've always known it's a wonderful community through the experience of my husband being in it since almost the beginning. But as of recent, there's been more men in their mid-60s that have taken their life that I have been aware of. And I can't think of what could be more valuable than men with being able to hold space with other men.
Yeah.
Like it's so important.
At one point in a room of 50 men, probably 50 men were there, high performing, high average income dude, generally speaking, by the world's perspective, on the outside looking in, like they got it going on in all areas, right? In most areas. But I said, hey guys, by show of hands, if you're willing, how many of you have thought about, even in the last 5 years, thought about taking your own life, even if it was just it was a quick thought, it crossed your mind that it might be easier to not be here, right? That your family won't be better off without you here, that the insurance money, the whatever, like just anything, just has it ever, even just for a second, crossed your mind? And 75 to 80% of the hands in that room went up. And this is arguably like guys that have a lot of resources, a lot of community, a lot of relationships, and yet still 80% of the hands went up in the room. Pretty remarkable. So definitely knows something. And my hand was one of them. My hand was one of them. And sometimes those thoughts show up even as a human, and you're like, what? How did that
even?
And you can almost shame yourself for having the thought.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have so much. Why am I even like? Then it spirals.
Totally spirals. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, and maybe either of you can take this if you want, but tell me about the person you're building this for. Tell me about the woman that needs to join your community. Like, who is she? Where is she at in her life? How old are her kids? Maybe, what does she want? I know we've touched on this already through your own journeys, and we've dabbled in what it is. But if we had to succinctly say, look, we designed it for this type of human. So again, somebody could either raise their hand or move on and go find something else that is a better fit for them. Who is your avatar for this community?
Well, I would say that, she has kids probably, between the ages of, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14. They're not like necessary. And as I say this, we have women that have little kids and they have all the kids, and I'm in the community, but I would say between 8 to 13, they're not super little. They're probably in school of some kind. And she has a career that has a lot of ownership of. So she may own her own business. She might be an executive in a company, or she's a professional, or she um, has a lot of responsibility, but also ownership over her team and her schedule. I think she has a little bit of flexibility in terms of that. She's somebody who has big goals and big dreams, and has things that are on the list of, like, you have a conversation and what's going on, and it's got these things like, so I want to do this, I want to do that. She really values her health. That doesn't mean necessarily that we're winning on all these areas, that maybe it's not at the level she might want, but she really values it. There's part of her that's like, I want to take care of my body, and I really love learning. I want to learn. I know that I'm curious. I want to be the best version I can be. And yeah, that's who I think of. Now, we have women that I'm thankful that have older kids to be able to share and reflect down. It's a wonderful gift when you get a little anxious about something, and an old woman that has kids that have been there, she goes, it's actually not big stuff. It's okay. We're freaking out that they didn't eat the vegetables. And I remember my sister-in-law saying to me, Angie, it's a little kid thing. That's not a big thing. I was like, it's big. She's like, it's not big. But, so I love the fact that we're building this community with all ages of kids and women at every stages in their marriage. But I really think that woman that is, she's building a great community in her work, passionate, an opportunity for, I hesitate to say the business owner, but because there's people that are in executive levels of leadership that have that, they're entrepreneurial minded. Yeah. To me, that's important. If they're entrepreneurial minded, they want to do big things and the impact that they're looking to make in the world. And they also want to be the best mom they possibly can be for their kids. And they want to have a wonderful, full, intimate relationship with their husband or their partner. They may feel like that's kind of hard to do with the kids at their age they're in, but they know it's important, but they're like, I remember being at a stage where I was like, yeah, okay, that'll happen at some point. But, but I just think that's in them. They're like, I want that. I want this. I want that. And I have a big life to live. And big doesn't, that's like when you said have it all. I don't think big is like a lot. I think to me, big is moments. That's what I think. It's that there's these moments I don't want to miss. And there's also moments I want to create. Yep. And if I'm not intentional about it, those won't happen. Yeah. I think that being intentional and crafting a life that doesn't have to look like anyone else's.
Yeah, that's cool.
Megan, would you say anything different to that?
Yeah, no, just to add to it, I think, when Angie said kind of entrepreneurial minded, so somebody that has a passion about something, right? So you're passionate about something, and we find that there's a struggle when you are a mom, when you have you have a thriving relationship and you really want to focus on that, and just being present in but I really want to focus on this too. I have this passion for building whatever this is. I have a passion for leading these teams. I have a passion in my career. And I think that struggle, seeing that and saying, okay, I can find that time and space to build this. And I really enjoy that. But I also know when to set those boundaries because I've done the work. And here's my time that I really want to be present in space for my kids. And I want to be present and in the moment with my husband. And I think it all comes down to as well some of the things that we're just not taught as we grow up. And, sometimes it's, when we go to the financial empowerment, and I'll utilize that as an example. So a lot of times, men might know how to do finances a little better. They might run their women's finances. They might run the household finances. They know how to trade, right? And maybe a woman never learned. And we had a deep dive summit on that pillar last year, and it was off the charts. I mean, we had somebody come in to teach finance to women, and she leads that. She leads a TV show up in Canada. It was out of control. I mean, so many people were there. They wanted to listen. They wanted to hear. And we had 2 other women on as well, one teaching about real estate options and investing, and just one investing in general. And I feel like that could be a lack of something too, where women want this financial independence. Yeah. We don't want to rely on somebody else. How do we teach ourselves? What does that look like? And so giving the space for that. And I also think it's people that are willing to do the work. So we like to say is, if you already have this all figured out and you do think you're killing it, but you're like, I already know what I'm doing. You don't need to tell me, or I'm already doing that. It's fine. It's probably not for you. But if you're like, you know what, I always can grow. I know I can learn more. I want to learn more. And I don't know it all. And I know I can learn from other people that are doing things maybe similarly or have that same background as I do, and not necessarily in work, but background as in having the kids, husband, health, all the things. That's what I want to surround myself with.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to grow and wanting to do that.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love being around people that are highly capable, that are passionate about achievement and progress and, doing a lot of things. And yet they carry with them like an element of humility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's an air of like, of curiosity. Like, hey, I know I have a lot to offer to this space and this room and this life, and I'm confident I can make a decision. I can go left and right when I want to. I can choose my boundaries. I can do all those things. And yet I'm also not here to like stomp on you to win.
Right.
I'm not here to shut you down so that I have a voice. Like, I'm here in a collaborative, even if it is a compete, like, let's compete, but let's make it fun.
Yeah.
Let's all win
Let's all
together.
win. Yeah.
That type of, vibe, that frequency feels really, really good to me. And it feels like that's what you're building in Front Row Moms because of who you two are. And even the spirit that you're collaborating to build it.
Yes.
That's a beautiful example of, two women joining forces to create something that, much like Front Row Dads, we share this in common. It's like you're building the community you want to be a part of.
Yes.
Right. And that's the coolest thing. And there are so many women that are going to and already have raised their hand to want to be a part of this. They were asking for it. Now we're just getting the word out about it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited for you.
Yeah.
Talk to me we've got about 10 minutes or so left. Talk to me about the upcoming event. Because I think this will speak to a little bit about like, hey, what's Front Row Moms? Why would I want to join? What do they do? And much like Front Row Dads, we've kind of communicated outwardly, and we demonstrate this by our practices. Like, we gather. Front Row Dads is great relationships. Through those relationships, we share resources. And those resources lead to better results in the areas that we care about: parenting, marriage, business, health, etc. Right? Tell me about your event. You've got some women gathering in April next month, right? So, yeah, Angie, you want to
Okay, sure. Yeah. So
take a stab at it?
Yeah. We're getting together in Scottsdale, Arizona, April 10th to the 13th, basically. And the retreats, we try to make sure that they're a mix of there's an opportunity for learning and working on these topics. There's also a time to connect with each other. And then there's an opportunity to we want to build movement into all of our events. I think it's important to both Megan and I that there is a component of physical movement.
Yeah.
I think it releases something in us that we can't manufacture in any other way. And so at this resort we're going to be at, the Adero Resort, it's a beautiful resort. We have two main facilitators or speakers that will be coming in. One of the women will be speaking on how to develop how to handle and work through conflict in your marriage through better communication. And she's going to lead a great exercise on Friday morning. It's going to be amazing. And then we're going to have in the afternoon, we'll have lots of different activities.
All the guys are going to be like, baby, you have to go to this. Yeah.
So good. Yeah, she's got her and her husband wrote a book, and everyone's going to get the book when they come. It's great. And then in the afternoon, we'll have some more exercise, but then we're also we have 2 hours of a pickleball tournament that we're going to have.
Nice.
So I'm actually really looking forward to it because I've only played pickleball once. And everybody's like, you got to play, it's so great. And so I think it's going to be a great activity, no matter if you played a lot or a little,
It is exactly that.
So it's going to be.
Anybody can play. You can pick it up very quickly.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes. So we're going to do that. We actually gather together on Thursday night first, where we have out on their patio this beautiful reception. And then Friday night, we'll get together again for a dinner. And then on Saturday, we have another speaker. And Shayla Way is going to tie together really, how do we integrate this business with family, with personal life. And what is it time management? Is it energy management? How do we do all the things? And she's going to lead a great exercise there. We're going to be able to do a great hike that afternoon on Saturday. One of the highlights, I think, is as we gather, we always have a kind of a focus to a theme of conversation that brings out sides of women that they didn't even know they had, which I think is incredibly special. And and it's the community, the area, it's called a dark sky community. So one of our events is, not an event, but sections is this stargazing experience. And I really think Arizona is special in terms of what it brings is a different energy. And so the name of the event is Sun and Sage. And we really, I'm excited about being able to tap into some of the things beyond us and within us, and people to create new friendships. And mostly there's also going to be time for women to have a little bit of downtime. And I just think even, anything out of your own day to day with the right questions, giving you a chance to reflect can create so much power moving forward. That's just, I say a lot, oh yeah, I'm going to take some space this morning and I'm really going to get quiet. And sometimes I do it. But it's not the same. Like even yesterday, being there in the room for John's book launch, that short window of time, I was like, allowed me to just be quiet, to think what's important. And I think I know that if we don't invest the time to create that space, it's just a hamster wheel and we just keep going. And so this, there's nothing like being in person, in community.
Totally.
Nothing like it.
Yeah, big.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you guys.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And then we're there like 10 days later.
Yeah.
I know and that actually is totally coincidental.
Different spot. Yeah.
Yeah,
but Front Row Dads has its business event that, it's going to be killer.
Yeah.
So excited. 2 Front Row events in Arizona.
Yeah, that's right.
The same month.
Taking over.
So awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think about the event? Anything you want to add to that?
I think it's something that a lot of times, like Angie was mentioning, we don't take the time, especially as women. We're like, oh, we feel bad. We have the mom guilt. We got to leave everything to our husbands to take care of, the kids, work, whatever. But as we never take that time. And so giving ourselves that treat of, okay, I can take a day or 2 off. I can do this. And then when I come back, I'm so much better for it. And it's not saying, a lot of times you say, okay, it's transformative. And what does that really mean? And it's really just you tuning in, reflecting, having that reflection time. Again, being around other people that can help you as well get through that. But we're giving you that space. We're curating the questions. We're allowing you that time, which we just don't have. We don't take it. I should meditate every morning. I should, journal every night. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but are we doing it? Possibly not. So I think just giving ourselves that time and saying this is a priority is something that's really special. So I wanted to just add that's, just say yes and do it, and you won't regret it. I want to say a lot. Over half the women that came to our first retreat are returning and coming back again, finding a way to make it happen. A majority of them became members of the community. It just is, they're like, I believe in this. And sometimes to believe in it, you have to experience it. And I think it's just the best way.
Yeah. You have to feel it.
What do you think would be the most common objection for a woman who hears this and they say, that sounds nice, right time to learn, to connect, these topics sound amazing, but the reason I can't go or won't go, right, is what is that for
I don't
them?
have time.
Yep. I don't have time. I've been traveling so much for work. I have too many commitments. Whatever it is, it's the time.
Can't be away from my kids, or maybe my support maybe is not there at home to take care of my kids. And, and I just find any time I've ever invested in myself, this is an investment in you. Is that when I've invested in myself in this way, in the moment, it feels selfish. It's the exact opposite of being selfish. It is actually what you need to do to show up for your people that matter to you.
Oh God, there's a couple of thoughts coming up for me. One of which is that I'm gonna use a story to make this point. And I'm gonna talk about somebody that was at my breakfast this morning, John Kane. Right. So for those who don't know, when I was in my I was in my 20s, and I was taking over John Kane's role in Cutco, Vector Marketing, right? And John pulled me behind the stage one time at the Lancaster Host Resort in Pennsylvania. We had 1,000 people, 1,000 students, representatives out in the main room. And he goes, hey man, you really need to step up into your role. Right. He was challenging me because he was the sales promotion manager. I was becoming the sales promotion manager. And I remember looking back at him and going, if you would step aside, I'll step up. It was like this very friction-filled moment. And he was like, all right, let's see if that's the case. Whatever he said. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what details I have? But he'll tell you the same story, by the way. He'll tell you the same story. And he did, and because he's such a force that the minute he stepped aside, I was able to step into that role. And you can see this in different places in people's lives. Like men will say that when their father eventually passed in their life, that they stepped up to own that role. They became they changed. They were now the elder. Their father was now gone, and they embodied this elder role. And I do think that there is an element of when a woman leaves home, right? If she might feel like, I can't leave him, right? I've heard women I can't.
I've heard that too.
He's not going to be able to take care of himself. I do too much stuff around the house. Everything's going to fall apart, right? The animals won't be fed, whatever it is, right? It's going to be different for every person. But sometimes I think when you step aside and you step away, it is such a gift to your kids. And again, all ages and seasons. I'm not speaking to everybody. You got to make the right decision for you. But that there is a gift in allowing somebody to stub their toe, to rise to the occasion, to put themselves to bed, to feed themselves, to handle whatever catastrophe comes up that you normally handle as mom. Give somebody else the chance to embrace that, right? That adversity, and they will likely rise to the occasion. And if you're always there serving, caring, loving, which is wonderful, then they don't have the chance, and they don't have the chance to miss you.
Right.
Because sometimes the greatest gift is, shoot, she's always here doing that thing.
Yes.
Let them feel that a little bit. Let them feel dang, it's good when she's around. That's right. When mom's around, when my wife's around, let them feel that. Because Tatiana has done, I always laugh, she's certified and getting certified. She's there's a sound healing certification. I'd like to do that. Of course you would. Yes. You're also a yoga teacher. You're a nutritional health coach. You're a homeopathy practitioner. She is literally 12 certifications. That's what, is she professional at anything? Yes. Professional in getting certified. But anytime she goes, she went to Peru for 2 months and studied with the Shipibo tribe. I was with the kids for 2 months, right? And that was the greatest gift. I loved her so much at a distance because I was so happy for her and I was happy for us. And, she goes to Russia with the kids, with Ocean mostly now, for weeks on end. And I'm with Tiger. And these are great spaces.
Yeah.
She has brilliantly said, give her all the credit for this. She said, Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, we talked about one earlier, right? She said, I think Gary missed it. The 6th love language is space.
Oh, so good.
And that is a love language we don't talk about enough. It's just getting space, giving space.
Yep.
Mike Michalowicz, who I had on the show, who's a prolific writer in the entrepreneurial space, in our episode, he said he takes 4 weeks off every year from his business. And he does that because that is the greatest gift he can give to his business, right?
Oh, see?
And that he actually uses that to say, hey, look, if you think your business can run without you, which is the greatest gift to your business,
It
that it
is.
can run without you.
Yes.
That is the greatest gift to your employees, to your customers, to everybody, that it is not dependent on you week in, week out. He goes, if you take 4 weeks off, that's a good cycle of business where you're probably got a good business. So he said, don't take a vacation from your business. Give your business a vacation from you.
Well,
So
it forces
maybe it's
you to look at things differently too.
It just creates a positive disruption. So maybe, one way to look at these events for people is not, I'm taking a vacation from my family, but giving your family a vacation from you, right? In a way, there's so much beauty in the space
Yes.
But
for all people.
It also shows your kids that it's okay to have personal goals and
That's right.
dreams.
Yes.
It's a great
I
demonstration.
think it's awesome. And I also think sometimes people can be addicted to the significance they get from being the person that does it all.
Totally.
So maybe it is time for you to go, well, do I not think they can step up to do this? I'm maybe addicted to this significance I hold. And when I don't know, maybe. But I think that it is a gift. I take for granted when I'm with them all the time. And then I'm away and I'm like, I need to tell them more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I leave, my kids are like, boys time.
Yeah.
Oh, they are totally like,
Ocean.
oh, wait, Mom, when
That's
are you leaving?
Ocean.
Oh, okay, when you come back,
Yeah.
all right, boys night, what are we going to do?
That's
I mean, they're like
100% it.
totally into it.
Yes,
So.
yes, yeah. Well, I hope that women listening who align with what you've shared will choose themselves, to invest in themselves, to take the time, to take the space, to ask for what they want. Because I have found in our marriage that the more Tatiana asks for what she wants, the more that she leans into the things that are healthy for her, the better everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
She's been dancing lately once a week. She does private dance lessons.
Awesome.
And she's like, is this okay? I'm dancing really close with this person, you know? And I'm like, listen, every time you come home from that dance lesson, you are on fire.
Yeah.
It is a gift
Keep
to
going.
me. It is a gift to everybody. You keep dancing. Like, this is good. Because she's lit up, you know? So whatever.
Well, it says a lot about you too.
Yeah, we have. I believe that what's true for me, I will not be prescriptive for anybody else, is that when I do support Tatiana in becoming the best version of herself, when I just keep supporting her, investing in her vision, letting her be her in the ways that she wants to, the better we are in almost every situation. So I'm really happy for what you two are creating. I'm so happy that we're able to, like, this is together, but apart, right? Like, we're supporting each other and it's your thing. It's not Front Row Dads. It's maybe there are elements of it that are similar, or, you know, but it is its own thing. And you two are really creating it. And I'm super excited for you. We are about out of time, but is there anything that you wanted to say about Front Row Moms, an invitation to anybody listening? Final words, whatever.
I would say, the best way to even just say, is this something that's for me? We do have some things out there. We try to get on social media. We have events throughout the year. If you can pop into one of those and just see what it's all about, just meeting some of the women is probably the best way. Or if you're just on the fence, and take that step, take the leap and just say, you know what's the worst that could happen? I will go on this, 3-day event and I come back and feel like crap. You won't. So sometimes it's just taking the leap and do something outside your comfort zone. A lot of times people say, I'm an introvert. I don't know if this is for me. We create that space so that it is, something that you can come in. So it's non-judgmental. You feel safe. So understand it's not this large conference where you feel like you're going to be speaking to everybody. And a lot of times I don't know if people understand that part of it. And so these are more intimate. We make it, even as many people as could be there, it's intimate. So we make it that it's a safe space for people to come in, to share, to be heard. And you're guaranteed to come back feeling better than when you left. So,
and I also think about, I've said many times, I've gone to, I don't know how many Tony Robbins events over the years, and I'll leave an event and I'll go, oh, I know who should go to that. Oh, I know who should go to that. I know, like Warren, these people should go to that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I needed it. I should go to it. And I did, but I'm always thinking about this person. I'm like, no, that's because I got so much from it.
Yeah.
And I think that getting in person is key. And then I do think it's great for women to know that in between these live events, one of the biggest gifts we have are these pods, which are these small group. Twice a month, they meet for an hour each virtually, ideally in person if they're all in the same city, but an opportunity to, it's kind of like the bridge between the live events, and that with these consistent group of women, growing through this where you're at in life, is a huge gift. And so I would say that, if you're looking for a community of women that gets you, that can challenge you a little bit, that'll inspire you, this is the place. If you're a mom and you got big goals for life and want to be in all the moments, you should join us.
Yeah. To all the Front Row Dads out there listening, frontrowmoms.com is up and running. And so you guys have been asking me for years. The men out there have been saying, when's Front Row Moms coming? When is Front Row Moms? What about Front Row Moms? Here it is. It's now up. It's live. It's running. You guys have online and in-person experiences.
Yep. Yes.
You are creating spaces for women to safely connect around the topics they care about the most, so that they can one, feel good themselves, right? To love themselves, to be good in their bodies, to be good in their spirits, to be good in their visions and their missions, which then supports them being great spouses, which supports them being great moms and having great impact in the ways that they want to professionally or in their endeavors in the world, right? That they can make an impact and make a difference. And you're creating that space. And I love it. It's really beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. It might be a sister. It might be a business partner.
Yes.
It might be a colleague. It might be your wife. It might even be your daughter, depending on the age of the dad. You know, there's a lot of women in your world. It's not maybe just your significant other that could be a great fit.
And sometimes we don't know how to share. So let me say this to the men. If you hear this, here's a simple way to share this. Think of that one person. Just think right now, like, who is a woman that, cares about her marriage, her kids, her impact in the world. Think about that person. Identify one. Shoot him a quick text message and just say, I heard this podcast, and maybe link to it. But say, I heard this podcast, and it was talking about women who want to be amazing wives, moms, and have an impact in the world. And I thought of you. And here's their website. And that's it. Like, you literally can just do that. I thought about this whole thing was about amazing women who want to be great partners, great parents, great, have a great purpose in life. And I thought about you, and then just include the frontrowmoms.com website. And I think that would be a beautiful thing, because even if they never go to the website, even if they never join the community.
It's such a great that someone thought of you in that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing when you're like, oh, I heard them talking about amazing people.
And it made me
your
think
name
of you.
Love it.
Exactly.
So give somebody that compliment.
Yes.
I think is beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for making the trip to Austin. Thanks for engaging in this beautiful conversation. I loved learning more about your hearts and your vision and what you want to create. And congratulations so far on the success. Wishing you a great event in April. And to all the women out there that are listening to this, and to all the men, I just wanted to say to you that what you're doing is not always easy. It is meaningful, and to be easy on yourself at times, to be forgiving to yourself at times. And that I think the key behind all of it, as we said, the various ways during the show, is like, we all want to be seen. And so please work to see yourself in all your ways, in your full range of your dark and your light, and your challenges and your gifts, and to do your best to embrace it all today, and to have some grace for yourself today and some ease for yourself today. It's a lot. Life can be a lot. And just keep leaning into love. I think that's the invitation. Keep leaning into love.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening today, fellas. If you got value from this episode, I ask that you take 1 second right now and you share this with another dad in your life that you respect, that you know is committed to becoming a better man, family man, and businessman. And on that note, I want to honor you for choosing growth. Your family will thank you years from now for all the effort that you're putting in to learn the strategies so you can show up more fully for them today. Take care.